What's going on, guys? Black Scout Survival. And typically when you hear, veteran, you hear Ranger, you hear Marine, you hear Navy SEAL, Green Beret, you hear these things and you immediately think this person is a patriot. This person is pro-Constitution. It's not always the case, though. It's not always the case. And there are plenty of veterans, SEALs, Green Berets, and et cetera, that I've seen over the past few years that are far from being pro-Constitution. I remember, like, during 2020, there was this one Green Beret that was posting lots of anti-white stuff, and even his former teammates came after him because they were white guys, and they're like, "Hey, man," and these guys served with him, and put their life on the line for this guy, and he totally turned his back and believed all the nonsense that the mainstream media poured on, and totally shunned all his teammates, the people that he served with, was in combat with, for this type of rhetoric, So the guy I'm going to be talking about today, I actually got sent this article, and I knew of the guy, but I don't know much about him. I know he's an author. Every Navy SEAL's an author, but he's an author, and I'm aware of him, but I did not know really his stance on anything. I didn't know that he, wanted certain stipulations on the Second Amendment and stuff like that. I didn't know his questionable history on the constitutional 2A stance. I didn't know any of these things. So I got sent an article that's from his website, so it's not from anywhere else. But this article here he wrote just a few days ago, on October 28th, he posted. He said, "Prayers unanswered, why action, not hope, is the cure to America's gun violence epidemic." And also he's playing into the Maine mass shooter. He's got pictures of kids with guns. Anyway, he says, in the wake of another, gun violence in Maine, America finds itself in a somber reflection. He says, the new House Speaker, Mr. Johnson, voiced the sorrow and hope of many. This is a dark time in America. We have lots of problems, and we're really, really hopeful and prayerful. Prayer is appropriate at times like this, that evil can end and senseless violence can stop. And so he goes on to say, yet as echoes of gun, and that was the House Speaker. He was, repeating what he said. So Webb goes on and says, yet at the echoes of gunfire fade into the somber chants of prayers and hopes, I can't help but recognize the glaring chasm between our hopes and actionable solutions. And hope is not a strategy, Mr. Speaker. As a Navy SEAL, I'm been intimately acquainted with firearms, understanding their destructive capabilities, yet also respecting them as tools when placed in responsible hands. And then so he goes on here. The debate often veers towards the Second Amendment, a centuries-old provision that finds itself gasping for relevance in today's dramatically evolved societal landscape. The intricacies of the Second Amendment in the modern era are a far cry from the black powder reality of 1791. I don't think so, buddy. Not even close. Not even close. More now than ever. You see tyranny at our doorstep. You just go look at your check and see how much taxes is getting taken from you. Yeah, you're already in tyrannical rule. Our forefathers will be freaking putting them down range at this moment. So anyway, he goes on, and hopes and prayers are the balm of a grieving nation, but they are not the salve to prevent the next tragedy. The earnest prayers of hopeful must now transition to the resolute actions of the brave. And so he goes on saying all these sort of things, and basically it's a lot of talking without really saying anything. So I really wanted to know what exactly he meant. So then I went on the goose chase, and I'll put a few pictures of him here just so you can recognize the name's Brandon Webb. You may know him from some books, Shooter Radios, and Navy SEAL. Also a sniper instructor for the SEAL teams. But I went down, and then I saw he actually wrote an article for Newsweek. He said, also, Navy SEAL sniper gun control is going to require a lot of listening. So he's been in this, and he says, I'm a former U.S. Navy SEAL sniper who served in the Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq. On my last tour in the SEAL teams, I managed the Naval Special Warfare Sniper course. As a 28-year-old, I fired hundreds of thousands of rounds in training and have been a gun owner. That makes it seem like he's not one anymore. Also believe we need to address gun violence in America, especially against kids. As a father myself, it's terrible to think about kids having to deal with school shootings. I was sick to my stomach when I sent them a bulletproof backpack and searched to shield themselves, and some crazy person came to school. So again, in this article, he says he challenges NRA policy, and NRA does a lot of good, FY. But he apparently tried to run for a board with the NRA. And so anyway, that article, though, he says a lot without saying much. So you wonder, like, what is he saying? But what I do know about him before that, I know a lot of veterans, a lot of Navy SEALs don't like this guy. He's been attacked by many of his former employees. He actually owned another company before, and they said that, horrible things about him. I'm not going to get any of that stuff because it's not relevant to this, but I just know he's not well liked by many people, and especially Navy SEALs. So apparently, though, he's been pretty anti-2A for a while. And when I say anti-2A, I'm talking about the Second Amendment. I'm not talking about, are you pro-gun? Because you can be pro-gun and anti-2A. I know that may be hard for people to hear, but you can be. There's plenty of Democrats that have guns, own guns, but they're also anti-2A. I mean, Joe Biden says he owns a shotgun. So anyway, apparently years ago, he was talking about running for a board seat on the NRA, and he got a lot of backlash because he was saying some very anti 2A stuff. Now, I got some of the posts here, so you can see here. And the thing is let me back up. He's a SEAL, he's a sniper, these sort of things, and he's using that as a basically his resume, that he knows more than you do. And unfortunately, buddy, that's not how it works. We're Americans, and the Constitution applies to everyone. And your job, whatever it may have been, I don't care if you're a freaking mechanic or a Navy SEAL sniper, your bearing of what you did have no more weight than the mechanic does. I'm sorry, that's not the case. And to me, it's very egotistical for you to think that. It's very egotistical and gives a bad look. So it gives a bad look to Navy SEALs and stuff like that. I can't stand ego-driven guys like that. But anyway, you're no more a man than anybody else. So anyway, he goes on to say, Brandon Webb, you see here, I circled, I don't think idiots should be allowed to purchase or own fire guns. More to come on that later. So does the Second Amendment say that idiots can't own firearms, or that what qualifies someone as an idiot to you, sir? What would qualify as someone an idiot who shouldn't own a firearm, right? So then we go on. Reasonable gun ownership is taking an NRA or equivalent firearm safety course to learn how to handle a firearm safely. Over 50% of my range visits in Nevada, I've encountered unsafe handling of firearms. Again, I don't know anything about the Second Amendment saying you have to have some kind of training requirement to own a firearm, right? You had people that fought, forefathers that fought in combat and beat the British, that had zero weapons training, zero tactical training. And they did that. So again, not a good argument. I don't think there should be a training requirement. It doesn't say it in the Constitution. That is that's a way to gatekeep firearms from people. They're already doing that with Brady laws, with felons and things like that. They're already gatekeeping. They're already breaking the Constitution as it is. So he goes here, if my professional accomplishment and expertise as a sniper don't qualify me to some degree, then I don't know what to tell you. Of course, when I'm going to send my package, I'll give you my points of what I'd improve and where I stand. Again, here he goes, beating his chest on what his job title was. No one freaking cares. I don't care what you did. You don't have a say-so because you're a Navy SEAL or a sniper on what my constitutional rights are. You don't have a say-so. I don't care how many rounds you shot. You could shoot a quadrillion, whatever that is, whatever's higher than, was it quadrillion? I don't know. Anyway, 1 trillion rounds. It doesn't matter how much trigger time you have. I don't care what you've done. I don't care if you invented firearms. You don't have a right to say what my constitutional right is, right? So he says, I believe in reasonable firearms ownership and that America should be able to responsibly enjoy the sport. It is not a freaking sport. It is not a sport. The Second Amendment does not talk about a sport. This is not a sport. It's for self-defense and fighting against tyranny and defending our country against invasions. That's what it's for. All the above. And sports, so if you want to say that. But that's not what the Second Amendment is about. Very lost. And so this guy being a Navy SEAL, having the Navy SEAL moniker, people are going to just take his word as gold. And that's the problem, because then you got a guy like this who is anti-2A that could have got a position based off him having a trident on his chest. Here he goes right here. I think everyone who owns a gun should get training. Obviously, it's important to have training. I do believe that you should have training. You should know what you're doing with a firearm. I believe that's just smart. It's like getting training on how to do anything, right? But the fact of the matter is the Second Amendment doesn't say that, and you're not required to get training to fulfill that constitutional right. It's another gatekeeping requirement. It will be a way the government would keep firearms from you. It would be a way to tax you, take more money from you to get training. And then what's the certification? How often does that have to be renewed? No, it'd be like having a driver's license. Negative. That's not what the Constitution says, right? He says, again, here, universal firearms initial safety training, all state CCW should be a no-brainer, just like LEOs need to standardize training methodology. Well, the problem is LEOs are using it as a job. It's a job for them. It's not talking about the constitutional right. LEOs are carrying guns because it's a job. Me personally, I think CCWs are unconstitutional. I think you should be able to carry whenever, wherever you want, and you don't have to fulfill a training requirement to do that. The Constitution does not say that I need to go ask permission to carry a gun. It doesn't say that. So that alone is already unconstitutional. And he says, I compared it to Patty in a UI. Gun owners can police their own, not government involvement. So now he's saying, he's backing up a little bit and saying, Patty, like the dive certification, that you should have to get some kind of certification. Again, this is gatekeeping. This is not what our forefathers wanted, and it would be a way to control ownership. It would be a way to control, oh, well, you need firearms training before you can buy a firearm. Well, who's allowed to get firearms training? Not every person can get firearms training. This would be a tactic that politicians would use. People would get rich over. They would take money from you to have your basic constitutional right. So again, I'm pointing this out because the fact is a lot of people will sit here and see Navy SEAL and think patriot. I want you to know that just because someone's a veteran, someone's got a Ranger tab, a Trident, an Eagle Globe, an Anchor, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. That don't mean they're a patriot. That don't mean that they have your constitutional rights in mind. We've seen that time and time again. We've seen it being guys like this being voted in to congressional seats based off of the resume. That's why I can't stand a resume. I can't stand people sitting here beating around about what they did, because it don't matter. I don't care what you did. I want to know what you do now and what you believe now. That's what I care about. I don't care. I don't give a damn what you did before. That don't matter. I don't care you were the quarterback in high school. I don't give a damn. I want to know what you do now, how you live now, how you train now, what you believe in now, because that's all that matters. Anyhow, I wanted to show this to you because you need to know that these guys are out there. And you may be buying his books and this and that. And look, he has the right to his opinion. That's his right. He's an American. He can have the right to his opinion, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that I'm going to say that he shouldn't have his right to his opinion. He can have his right to his opinion. But the fact doesn't matter. I don't have to support him. I don't have to buy his books. I don't have to freaking listen to his I don't know what he has, but I don't have to do anything to support a man that is out here wanting to put gatekeeping training requirements on the Second Amendment. That is not what our forefathers, it's kind of like, I saw this girl right here posted this, said MFers against gun control be like, well, if we ban carrying, what happens if someone pulls a gun on me? What guns are they going to be allowed to pull on you if there's a ban to carry? Yeah, that's about the logic there that they have here. Anyhow, guys, let me know your thoughts on this below. I wanted to share it with you just so you know they're out there. They're out there. They can act like a patriot. They can be a veteran. Oh, I'm a veteran. That means nothing anymore. It doesn't mean anything. Thank people for their service. Thank God for the guy for serving, but it doesn't mean he's got your constitutional rights or you being just the most basic rights of being an American. As for your best interests. Anyhow, guys, I wanted to share this with you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, always stay dangerous. Take care.